Let's see which are the most common mistakes researchers, you might make. And you should be careful with the mistakes most commonly occurred when writing a literature review, and don't make the same mistakes. Most students do not logically organize their literature review. Most researchers don't actually organize their literature review logically, and you should organize it logically. We discussed in a separate lecture how to organize literature review. You can actually organize it chronologically, topical, based on topic, or based on some other criteria. We discussed it in another lecture, and you can go back to that lecture and learn how to organize it. Some researchers might make this mistake. Literature review is not focused on most important facets of the study. You might actually might not tackle with the main issues of the research, the variables, the key terms, but you should do, your literature review should focus on most important facets, variables, key terms, the words which are important for you as the researcher in that article, in that thesis, in that dissertation. Literature review does not relate literature to the study. It means that actually they are disjointed pieces of info. They are not related to each other. You have taken some pieces of info from different sources, from different articles, from different theses, but they are not related to each other. They are not related to your thesis, your research, your proposal, and this means that your literature review does not relate the previous literature to your study. Okay, this means that you couldn't make a connection between your thesis, your proposal, your paper, and the available literature. Too few references or outdated references are cited. You might actually make a mistake. Don't cite enough sources, or you might cite some outdated sources. As we discussed earlier, you should cite sources from the last 5 years. Most of them should be from the last 5 years, showing that you have read all sources, or better to say most of the sources written, research written by scholars, by main figures in the field, by scientists in that field, okay, in that topic, in that area. Then your citations should be enough. Your sources should be enough and should be up to date. Okay. Literature review isn't written in author's own words. Some researchers make this mistake. They copy and paste. They actually directly quote whatever they have read. They copy and paste it into their paper, into their thesis. This means that their literature is written in someone else's words. Okay, because of that, we recommend you not to quote directly. At least don't actually directly quote often. You can actually cite some sources, quote directly, but it should not actually be a number of sources. For example, you can directly quote 2 sources, 3 sources, 1 paragraph, okay, but not all your literature review. You should write it in your own words. This means that you should paraphrase what you've read. You should read the other people, the papers of other people, the theses of other people, and write it in your own words, not copy and paste. Okay, it is called paraphrasing. And it is a way of actually evading or shying away from plagiarism. Okay, This is one technique. Literature review reads like a series of disjointed summaries. This means that there is not a connection, not a logical connection, meaningful connection between those pieces of info taken from different sources. When you're gonna write a literature review, you have to read different sources and you have to take notes. You have to take some piece of info from those sources. But they should be related to each other. They should be related to each other. If they are disjointed, if they are not connected to each other meaningfully, logically, this means that your literature review is not acceptable. Literature review does not argue a point. You do not criticize anybody. You don't criticize anyone's methodology, anyone's instrument. I mean, in literature review, you have to be critical. You have to criticize others. Okay? You have to be you have to criticize others' research. Tell that someone, for example, Mr. A's research has some drawbacks. Okay, suffers from this and that, and I'm gonna actually solve those problems. Okay, get rid of those drawbacks in my research. You should look critically at others. If you don't, then it is a mistake. Recent references are omitted. Some people actually believe that, or might mistakenly believe that they can omit new sources, recent sources, but I strongly recommend you cite recent sources, specifically those from the last 5 years. As we discussed earlier, you can cite some sources by Newton, for example. Okay, some theories from 100 years ago. It's okay, but not a normal research from 100 years ago. Okay. A literature review is vague due to too much or inappropriate generalizations. You can actually shy away from this. And some people might actually cite sources, limited range of sources, insufficient infos, actually provide the readers with insufficient info, cite irrelevant materials, or some people might omit contrasting views, so that actually to show that there is no contrasting view, there is no opposing people. Okay, there are no opposing people, opposing ideas. This is wrong, because we should tell the readers both sides. We should be fair, not biased. We should be fair and show the readers that some people argue that A is wrong and some others argue that A is correct. Both sides. We should tell the readers both sides of the argument and then write and convince them that my side is, for example, correct, or my side is wrong. Okay? And some people, this is another mistake, some people cite normal sources from ordinary people. Okay? We usually don't recommend you cite sources from ordinary people. I recommend you cite sources from top 100 people, top 10 people. Okay? Top 10 people in your field, in your topic. For example, in heart surgery, who is, or better say, who are the top or the best 10 scientists, the best 10 researchers? Okay, we should cite sources from those people. Some actually younger students, younger researchers, novice researchers, inexperienced people might cite different sources, a wide variety of sources, but from ordinary people. Okay, this is wrong. You should cite as much as possible, as much as is enough, but from top people, but from the best researchers. And this is one of the other mistakes new researchers, I mean inexperienced researchers might make, and you will avoid the mistakes they make. I provided you with a list of mistakes, most common mistakes, and you are now aware of the mistakes, and you will shy away from them. Okay.